Well, I'm excited about this. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I've got Jacob here with me, and Jacob has been doing Amazon for years and years and years. I guess you're coming up on like 5 years by this point, maybe six. Jacob, is it how many? How many years has it been?
Yeah, I think we're on number six right now.
Number six. Okay, good. So I'm excited to have him because we're going to be talking over probably one of the biggest topics we could have right now, which is dealing with PPC, especially going into Q4. So that's one of the big things we're going to be talking about. Um, and kind of why PPC is the money shredder that it is, and how sad that is. That's true, but it is a fact when dealing with Amazon that if you don't handle PPC right, PPC will be a money shredder for you. So that's what we're really going to be dealing with today: how to make it not so much of a money shredder, how to make it profitable for you, and the levers you can pull. And I'm actually going to probably be dispelling some of the myths that I see a lot when it comes to PPC as well too, and I think that'll be pretty exciting for us as well. So let's go kind of jump into this a little bit. What we've got is I'm going to be trying to keep us on pace here because I've got a lot to cover in a short amount of time, but if you stick with us until the end, I'm going to actually give you a resource that I think will be really good for you. And in a few minutes, I'm actually going to show you how to manage your PPC in probably under 7 minutes. I claim 15 minutes, but honestly, you ought to be able to do it in 7 minutes with this system that I'm going to give to you. And I'll actually give away a resource that goes along with it so that you can just go ahead and grab it, and you'll be able to quickly be able to do your PPC in a way that's efficient, that is better than probably 90% of the PPC managers out there that I've interviewed or talked to over the years. And plus, I've got a resource to give you this, make this all plug and play ready for you. So we're kind of going into a huge period of seasonal ad spend and ad surge where just spending is going to go up because of what's going on with Q4. So, Jacob, you kind of give a little bit of a chat on why that is, and why people why people may be experiencing that in general, why this happens on Amazon. So,
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of it has to do with the diversity of the ecosystem within Amazon. It's obviously a range of sellers, being from the lower range seller, the mom and pop shops selling their kind of one-off product on Amazon, to big brands like Sony, who have a massive Amazon presence. And so what we really end up seeing, especially with Q4 ads metrics, some of the bigger brands and a lot of the spaces, they really start to crank up ad spend because they have ads at budget allocations for this time, that it's not necessarily about profitability. A lot of it's for brand share. And so the hard part with that is there's a sort of a rising tides raises all ships with the cost per click. You'll see really high increases in cost per click. And if you don't have a lot of your other base metrics down, a lot of the ones we're going to be going through today, it's really easy to go underwater very quickly, and inefficient ad spend that can cause problems. So I think that's kind of one of the main ones we see very often, especially in competitive markets.
yeah,
So.
it's funny you say that because I think it is a rising tide raises all boats, but in the negative, in the inverse. I guess it's
In
a
a bad
sense
way.
that, like, in a
Usually that's
bad
a good
way.
phrase.
Yeah. Usually it's a good
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, like say, and I guess in a sense on Amazon for Christmas time and holidays from Thanksgiving onward, and Black Friday, big deal days, all that kind of stuff. I mean, the platform just swells with people that are in buying mode. So that's the good part of playing the game at this time, is that, yes, you'll generally just increase sales by being on the platform during Q4. The downside to that is every other retailer, I guess, realizes that too. So while it's a rising tide lifts all boats for that, a rising tide also lifts all costs for PPC is maybe kind of what that looks like. That's kind of what you're saying, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, so one of the things that um, is that with this is if you kind of have these rising costs without pushing some of the other levers for PPC, what you're going to just have is a money shredder, where you're just putting money in indiscriminately into PPC, and the result is going to be just your money just seems like it's going nowhere and you're not getting any result. You're going to be sitting there in January going like, well, we sold a lot, but we didn't make any money when it all
Didn't
came
make
down to
anything.
it. So it didn't make anything when it was all said and done. So I want to give you a system today to help you manage PPC. That's kind of the quick thing. But I'm also going to talk about the two levers that I would say, Jacob, probably no one is really pulling on Amazon when it comes to PPC, especially. And
Yeah.
and we've been doing this for a number of years, so I just kind of want to say that up front. But maybe you're sitting there and saying right now, like, yeah, but Sean, I don't even know if PPC is the problem. Matter of fact, I think Amazon may actually be out to get me because it hates me. And if you've experienced that or you kind of feel that way, you're not alone. Let me say that. Most people feel that when coming onto Amazon or trying to DIY Amazon for themselves the first time. It's a platform that is not generally like kind to sellers. It's all about the shopper. They really care about the shopper. But when you come to being a seller, you're sort of like a third rate citizen. So because of that, I got you. I actually built a resource. It's called the Amazon Bottleneck Decoder. And it's a free tool, and basically what's going to do in under 2 minutes, it'll tell you exactly what's holding you back on Amazon. There's no tech, no fluff, just pure answers on what to do. So if that's something that interests you, I'm just going to ask you to go ahead and type fix into the chat down there, and I'll make sure I get that out to you if that's something you're interested in. Type fix into the chat. I'll make sure I get the Amazon Bottleneck Decoder to you, and it'll kind of break down based on your answers. It'll take you through a few things that take about 2 minutes to answer specific questions on your Amazon business. And it's all free. And then at the end, it'll give you responses based on what you should do next and what actions to take. So the Amazon Bottleneck Decoder, that's there for you. And just type fix into the chat, and I'll be sure to get that out to you right there. Okay, good. Here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and paste
Well, and
that
I think
over there.
people can tend to underestimate tools like this, especially when dealing with Amazon. I think there are so many, especially if you're dealing with Amazon by yourself, like you're really in the thick of it. People tend to just think, "Oh, Amazon doesn't work," and there's so much I have to work on to get it to work. When actually, there are more often than not with a lot of the companies we end up working with, there's very actionable steps. It's just about understanding what those steps would need to be. Like just pick one thing and work on it. And so this is a good way to get very kind of concise information for very actionable next steps. So there's not a mystery, there's not a cloud looming over you. Oh, I have a million things to fix today. Pick one thing, work on that with intensity, and then move on to the next one. So
I think that's a really good statement. I think it's really easy to make Amazon just feel overwhelming, and that's a lot of the comments we're hearing from people. It's like it's so much and it's so crazy, and actually, there's a very systematic way to go about it, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today. Especially even this is for PPCs. There are many different sides to Amazon, obviously, from dealing with seller support and all those kind of things, and dealing with inventory and all that kind of stuff. But specifically when it comes to PPC, I'm going to kind of break this down. And right now, I'm going to do a little bit of a confession for you, something that just kind of revealing some of the lessons, the hard lessons that I've learned over the years that I think may be a little bit beneficial. Some of you may already know that we run what I consider to be the best Amazon growth agency in the world. We work with some great brands, maybe some that you've heard of, but this means that over the years, I've actually hired and brought onto the team multiple PPC gurus, multiple PPC experts over the years. And that's kind of an interesting process when you're doing the interviewing. Because about 5 years ago, I started to realize something in this process, and they were pointing out a flaw in me that I didn't even realize I had. You see, because one of the things that I do a lot is I'm always on the lookout for magic. I'm looking for the lightning in a bottle. I'm looking for the one thing that's like, oh man, that was amazing. And we figured that out. That changed everything. And it happens in a snap. So I would have these long interviews with PPC specialists and that had years in the trenches doing great jobs on PPC, and then hiring them and working with them. And over again, they kept coming back and pushing back on my desire for that magic. And matter of fact, at one point, one of the PPC managers we had turned to me and he said, Sean, PPC is not magic. And it really cut me to the quick because this is about 5 years ago. And I started to realize that, you know what, every time we push and really push and try and get PPC managers to do growing of ad accounts and all of this kind of stuff, they really couldn't. And over again. And I'm at some point I had to come to understand that this isn't about them. It's about the realities of PPC. So we have great PPC managers on our team, and they're really good at what they do. But I'm going to tell you a little bit of a secret about PPC managers. They're really only good at one thing, and that one thing is cost management. They're really good at cutting costs. They're really good at getting budgets under control. If they're worth their salt, they can get your tacos from 30 down to like 8 or 5 or something like that. So they can make ads super efficient. But what they can't do, and over again, I kept pushing them like, hey, we need to grow sales. We need to grow sales. We need to grow sales. And they would always push back on me on these two levers that we're going to reveal today. And this statement right here about PPC not being magic was a hard one for me to swallow, again, because I was looking for it, but I'm actually going to prove it to you. I'm actually going to show you how to do PPC. I'm going to give you one quick little system. You'll be able to do PPC in 15 minutes a week. It'll be super fast. You want to do it in 5 minutes, a couple times a week, or whatever you want to do it. I'll actually show you how to do that. Hand you the system. I'll hand you the resource. If you stay to the end, I'll actually hand you the resource that would be good for that as well too. But what I'm trying to say about this is PPC not being magic, and PPC specialists, and especially even with years and years of experience, is that they're only being able to cut or save costs or cut budgets or anything like that is their one big thing. That's sort of the bad news, because what happens is if that's all you can do is cut budget, then there's sort of a downside that I'll tell you about in just a little bit on how Amazon responds to that. So Jacob, make sure I remember to tell them about the downside. But really quick, I just want to show you how simple PPC can be. So I'll actually give you this. This is a resource that I'll give you, this PPC, a 15-minute PPC domination toolkit. It has a whole bunch of stuff on here. I'm just going to take you through the process really quickly right now and show you a search term report. So this is the product that Amazon will give you. Anyone, they've had this for years. You can go download this right now from your account if you're running ads currently. So there's, Amazon will teach you how to set up ads, but the big thing is people don't know what to do with this. So this is called a search term report. And as you can see, there's hundreds and hundreds. Actually, on this one, I think there's like over 1,000 search terms on this. And you can see that by this right here, this little row. These are all the search terms that were dug up or are working currently inside of ads. And so this is search term report. You're going to see lots of different columns on this search term report. But this system I'm going to show you is only going to focus on one column. It's going to be way over here at the end. And it's this one. We're going to do advertising cost of sales, ACOS. And you're going to see there's some that have numbers in here and some that don't. These ones that don't, I'm going to show you are probably some of the most important things you can look at. But I'm going to actually just make a quick little system right here in front of you. You're going to see how quick this can be, and it can be done in minutes instead of weeks or hours and a day or anything like that. What I'm going to do is come over here to this advertising cost of sales, and I'm just going to sort this in descending. So if you're in Excel or something like that, I think it says descending. But then it's going to put all of your ACOS in order, right? So that's step one. You just go to this row and you pull down your total advertising cost of sales, you sort descending. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my spot where I'm 30% ACOS, and that's what I'm going to look for. So if you can see right here, I'm looking for 30% ACOS split, where it splits from 30% ACOS. So this is 29.38. This is 32. I'm just going to go over here to the side. I'm going to grab that row and every row that's above it. So I can just do like this, and then watch what kind of magic I'm about to do right here. This is amazing. I just go ahead and click that red. All right, so I clicked everything above 30% ACOS as red, and then I'm going to go to the row that's just below that. Everything that's below 30% ACOS, I'm going to make another color here. And so keep going. We go down here to green. All right, so we're going to go down and make this green. Now, this is pretty amazing when you think about it. Jacob always yells at me about the green I pick for some reason. I don't know why he's very picky on
He
what
picks
color
the
the green
worst
are,
colors.
but I do. I do. But a couple of things you're going to notice here. We essentially have three things that now we can take action on. Three things: red, green, and then there are some that are uncolored completely. So just explain what's going on here right now. I'll start from the bottom. Everything that is untouched, everything that is in the white cost you money, all right, but didn't really get any kind of sales, because if it didn't have a cost, it didn't get you sales over here. So here's the spend. You see all these spend columns. Here's the sales. These are things that have spent, you cost you money, and but did not deliver sales. So at this point, anything that is white, you can just go over to that campaign and you can either choose to negative it or watch it for another week and see if it happens to get a sale. But these are the ones that are costing you money and are not getting sales. So it's that simple. Negative these phrases, or drop the bids, or get them out, or do whatever. So the green ones are ones that are actually making you money and doing all right. So these ones get you sales. They have they're kind of giving you all the good metrics. So the green ones are, hey, I love these. If they've got a really low A cost, I'm willing to feed them a higher budget. I'm willing to bid up. I'm willing to do whatever, because they're delivering great results for me, and we can just keep doing that. The red ones, what you want to do is get these out. These are okay. They're getting you sales. They just need to be controlled. All right. So unlike the white down here where you're like, these are costing me money and not getting any sales, these just need to be put into control. So all you do with these is migrate them into individual accounts and turn the reds into greens. That's all you need to do. Take these red ones, get them into their individual campaigns where you can control them, and get them down to the point where the red turns into green, meaning the A cost gets below that 30%. Now, you may be saying, well, that seems a little too simplistic. It really is, but it is that simple. What you can actually do is with this and say, hey, we're in growth mode right now. You can just pick the pivot point for where this ACOS split will be. So it's like, we're in growth mode right now. I'm comfortable with anything that's under 60% ACOS. Great. Just go over here and you can really quickly change these to greens. And you're like, I'm comfortable with everything that's under 60% ACOS. Or we're in cost cutting mode. I need something a little bit lower. We need to be anything that's 15% ACOS, and anything above that is red. Simple, do that. The moves are going to be the same. What you're going to do with the red is migrate them over. Green, you're going to say, yay, give them more budgets, give them more spend if you want to, or just let them alone. Anything that's in the white category, you're going to say, hey, this is costing me money, but it's not making sales, so we need to do something with it. It's a stupidly simple system, and that's how easy Amazon PPC can be. It may take a little bit of time to go back and forth, and I'll give you an even simpler one if you need to do this in a couple minutes during the week. Here's the way you can do this and make this really simple. You come over to this after you've done the red green color. You just come over to this, and what you're going to do is sort this descending. And the reason you do that is because now you're looking at the highest spend item. So if I only have a few minutes, I'm like, I just got to go in and deal with PPC, and I haven't done that this week, and I'm feeling nervous, need to go in there, deal with it. This puts the ones that have the highest economic impact at the top. Red, you need to migrate. Green, you're good with. Red, you need to migrate. Green, they're good with. Oh, this guy's costing you money, $31, cost per click 40 cents, but you didn't get any sales. We need to negative that. PPC can literally be that simple. And now there are multiple ways you could do this beyond this, but I'm telling you right now, this would get you ahead of probably 95% of all Amazon sellers, just being able to do something like that. Jacob, anything to add that I might have missed on this one?
No, I think the kind of beauty of this system is it's fast. I think people kind of get a little bit of project paralysis whenever it comes to like advertising. It's like, oh, advertising is this big thing I need to spend about 3 hours on. And then what turns it into is, if you're, especially for like some of the small sellers where Amazon's like, it's only like a third of their business because the majority is like in-person sales. So if you're like, I need to work on this thing, it's going to take me 3 hours. That 3 hours then doesn't get done until 2 weeks. So much can change on Amazon in 2 weeks. You can go through so much spend to where you kind of get into making poor decisions. Whereas if you're just doing something that takes like 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, and actually doing the 15 minutes a day beats 3 hours that you don't end up actually hitting for like a week or two. So I think doing
Yeah.
smaller steps more consistently, there is a kind of beautiful power behind that that a lot of people really don't take into consideration.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think, part of the marketing game is to make Amazon sound more crazy so that the only choice is to, only choice is to choose the person that's making it sound more crazy. So this just makes it stupidly simple. I've seen some of the stuff that the gurus are saying out there, and I think, and I've also, we have a lot of students in our pro seller elite right now that they're confused by PPC, and when they saw this system, they're like, oh my gosh, that made PPC easy, and they're just doing this as a system. And they're
Yeah.
using some AI tools with it, along with it, that we have that are helping them out along the way with that. But really, it doesn't need to be taking you, like they're thinking they need to learn how to do day parting and all that kind of stuff. You can learn that, but for most sellers, honestly, for just average sellers, that's not even a thing. And in fact, I make this statement as like PPC, is the least important lever. What I've just showed you right here, bids and automation, is so much the least important lever that on our agency, we actually just give it away for free. Like, we do the PPC management for free. We don't do ad share costs or anything like that. We have a lot of people that come to us from other agencies, and they're like, I'm paying $8,000 a month, just for PPC management, because they're taking a percentage of ad spend. And I personally think that's rather atrocious. Now, this isn't the only, PPC can get more sophisticated than this, and our PPC managers do more sophisticated, nuanced things. But I'm telling you, just if you're alone selling on Amazon by yourself, this will get you ahead of almost any seller out there, period. But the other side to it is, this does not drive sales. At best, what this does is protect your margins or lower costs, and makes ads more efficient. That's all PPC is ever going to be able to do for you. And here's sort of the bad news with this. The bad news is that if all you're doing is cutting cost, and you get super into this and just cut costs, Amazon responds in a very negative way. Jacob, you want to tell them what the negative way is there?
Yep, we've seen it time and time again, especially for sellers. When we start working with sellers, though, they've been burned by a couple of kind of ads agencies in the past. They've just been blowing spend, so that we get into super cost cutting mode, and their organic sales just disappear. Amazon really is such a like between the organic and the PPC. I think just for simplicity, we like to think of them as two different systems, but it's much more of an interwoven web. What you're doing on the advertising side affects your organic wholeheartedly, and I think a lot of people tend to not take that into consideration. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's totally true. And then the other side to it too is that as you cut and cut and cut Amazon PPC, Amazon responds to in kind and actually starts cutting your visibility. People
mhm.
don't realize that Amazon really only responds to either the gas or the brake. It's not like if you're trying to put the gas and the brake on at the same time on the same product, Amazon is going to go like, I really don't know what you're doing right now. I'm just going to give up on you. So it's like, if you push down the gas on PPC, Amazon goes like, yeah, we're all in. We'll start showing you everywhere, because we're excited about it. And that's with a caveat. And what Jacob kind of alluded to, which we'll get into here in just a little bit. There's a caveat to that would make that not always true, and we'll kind of get into that. But the gas and the brake are really what that means. So I kind of just showed you how to do this, but if you're new to this, I promise at the end I'll give you this, which actually has a whole system, and it goes into this a lot deeper, what I just showed you here, and on exactly what to do with each of these different things, and the way to choose what you're going to do, and how to even figure out what your bids will be. It'll tell you exactly what your bids will be and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to promise that you'll have that at the end of our time together here. It's this toolkit that'll make it available to you, and you can literally do this. 15-minute PPC domination toolkit. It'll be 15 minutes per week. One time per month will probably be the biggest chunk where you actually download the search term report and should do what I did. But then you just come back through and touch it up as you kind of go along, over the month, depending on what you want to do. So really, what I want to do is in about 5 minutes, we're going to switch gears into the real levers for growth, because we already realized that, what we've gone over today is only going to cut costs. It's only going to make your margins better, but it will not grow your Amazon account. Anything that can be done by a PPC manager by itself will not grow the Amazon PPC account. You can do some stuff like finding new keywords and discovery and all that kind of stuff, but I'm going to be honest with you, that's just basically letting Amazon do what it wants to do with its own discovery tools, auto campaigns, all of that kind of stuff are primary ways. Just let Amazon find that. You go find the search term report, you mine it. So this is the center hub to all of your PPC activities right here is the search term report. Now, what I want to talk about beyond this is that there are essentially two levers you can pull beyond this for growth. So this won't get you growth. This will basically just get you cost control in some way that'll make sense. But this, what I just showed you, there's no way to get you growth. In order to get growth, what we're really going to have to focus on are two other levers. So the two levers for growth. Lever number one is premium pricing. You've got to have premium pricing on Amazon, and you've got to have where you're bringing in enough money when you make a sale that is going to cover the ad costs by selling your product at a premium. But it's hard, it differentiates by different categories. So premium pricing is a factor of a bunch of things that I'm going to kind of go over with you here. The second one that you basically need to be covering is organic traffic. And that's what Jacob was sort of hinting at the beginning, is that you cannot have a winning Amazon ads. Otherwise, it will literally be this for you, Amazon PP death spiral. These two right here are exactly how you reverse it and how you go about it. I would say, Jacob, probably one of the biggest ones, and I probably should put this up here, is you want to do this one. Just talk about tacos for a little bit.
Yeah, I could talk about tacos. So when Sean's talking about kind of the two main levers that we can pull there, organic traffic being kind of one of the more quickly actionable ones. Everyone would love to charge premium pricing, but there's a lot more that goes into product development, the market, and everything that before you can just go charging. So organic's really the one we're going to be looking at largely today. There's some levers you can pull inside that system. Tacos is sort of how you sort of quality control check that system, make sure everything's heading in the right direction. So whenever we're working with accounts, very hands-on, one of the main metrics we're checking daily is actually our tacos, which stands for the total advertising cost of sale. So if you've done any amount of PPC, I mean, Sean, you mentioned it earlier, you're aware of ACoS, which is advertising cost of sale. That's a pretty simple function. It is your ad spend divided by how much sales was divided in your ads kind of account total. What Tacos does is it also takes into account your organic. So your total sales for the entire account divided by, or your ad spend divided by your total sales for the entire account. And the main reason we actually look at this one significantly more and we weight it significantly more than ACoS is because it does take into account that organic traffic. And as I was talking about a little bit earlier, the organic and ads systems are a lot more kind of intertwined than I think a lot of people like to believe. So whenever it is not terribly uncommon where sometimes we'll see like, oh, ACoS is rising. And if I was just in advertising manager and I saw that ACoS rising, I would tend to freak out, go ahead, pull some stuff back. But what could also be happening at the same time is your advertising ACoS is rising while your tacos is coming down. And again, it speaks to that interconnectivity as you start to play well in advertising. Even if you're spending more money, Amazon starts to show you that love a little bit more kind of organically and sort of entirely account wide. So that's why we spend a lot of time kind of paying attention to that one, a lot of time waiting that one as well. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and kind of just making this, a little bit more apparent here, kind of what Jacob's talking about. If we go back to our search term report, one of the things that we can actually see here, let me go back and sort this back the old way. One of the things that we've seen is we've had ACoS as high as 102%, which, you're looking at this, it's already in the red. We got to do something with that. I would say yes, but we've had ACoS be as high as 102% and have really good tacos. Like we've had tacos down in the below 30%. And so you can actually have campaigns that are inefficient. Like these things are just not operating efficient and you're freaked out about this. You're going 102%. But what happens is along with this, you got to be careful because you could have a campaign that is doing something like this, where it's delivering 102%, but it's also delivering, $20,000 in monthly sales or something like that. And if you cut it, what you're actually going to be doing is also cutting your organic traffic as well, because Amazon says, hey, they're out there doing stuff and we're excited about them. You could actually have ad campaigns looking not necessarily good. So what I'm saying about that is if your tacos are good, you can actually pick and move the green up higher. Yeah. You can actually pick like, oh, I'm going to pivot at 79% ACoS and just let those alone because Amazon, we're spending a lot, and maybe those ads don't look good. And if you talk to any ads manager, they're like freaking out because the ACOS is like so high. But Amazon is sending you so much free traffic, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well,
And
and even to
that's
just
why
kind
we
of
pay attention.
prove that point, that search term report that you're showing there, that is one of the products where that some of those ACOS, as you can see, is high, but the products that search terms associated with the tacos on that one's like 6%, which is
Yeah.
nutty for the space.
Yeah, so Jacob's making a great point there. We're actually talking. This is just, we pulled this search term report down. So we have some in there that are running 212% ACOS, but tacos, meaning organic traffic, is coming in. We have single digit tacos. So Amazon is sending us so much free traffic that it lowers the tacos down to the point where it's like it's a single digit number, and it's like it's stupid. We would be dumb to shut off those ads, and just because they have a high ACOS, that would be the
Yeah.
worst move we could make in the world. We can do this now. Some of this is predicated on doing some very specific things, and I think that's kind of what I want to get into here, because I think a lot of people get a little bit confused on like how this works and all this kind of stuff. So what I really want to do is I want to talk really quick about how do we increase organic traffic? What can we do? What levers can we pull to increase organic traffic? Because right here, we already know from doing the search term report and doing this activity, there's no levers to pull here. You can migrate these, you can get them under control a little bit more. But if you start cutting this campaign down, our tacos are already at like 6 and 7% for this company. You're gonna be dropping. What you're going to be doing is dropping your pricing, dropping your effectiveness, and dropping your organic traffic. So what we got to be careful of is not to be doing that. So tacos is what we want to be looking at. But the big thing we want to do in order to get the organic traffic is what we want to be looking at is unit session percentage. Okay. We'll talk about this. This is the thing that we actually want to be focused on, because if we focus on this will come into line inevitably. This, if you want to know where there's magic in PPC, this is where the magic is. I'll show you that, and then there's another piece of one too, that like this one and one other lever are both where the magic is, because you're not going to be able to. You're pretty much limited by what you've got here on what you can do for PPC. Like that's all you're going to be able to do. Getting over here and focusing on these is where you can actually start to do this. So really quick, Jacob, I'm going to have you just kind of talk about, we're going to talk about unit session percentage a little bit, but let's go ahead and show them where to get unit session percentage. I'll take them to that slide if you want to talk them through it. Then maybe we can just have a discussion on what actually
Yeah.
increases unit session percentage.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways you can kind of monitor that. The one that I kind of tend to recommend, it really depends on how large your account is. So the one that Sean's showing right there is the kind of whole account unit session percentage. So if you log in to your Seller Central, just from the regular Seller Central, say this isn't in the ads dashboard, you'll launch into your reports page, and then from there, you'll go to business reports and then detail page sales and traffic. From there, you can set your time frame for whatever account you're looking at there, and then you'll be able to scroll to the right, and you'll see unit session percentage, also commonly known as conversion rate. Same thing. Amazon just calls it the unit session percentage. But if you're looking at making changes for specific products, I do want to make it known that you can also find it either by parent or by child. If you go to the by ASIN section, which is a little bit below that, you'll see detail page sales and traffic by parent, and then detail page sales and traffic by child item. Both of those will have unit session percentage. If you kind of scroll over to the right a little bit, by broken down by either parent ASIN or child ASIN. So for some variations, it's really easy to look at the parent, because if you're doing color variations, most of the time a lot of changes you're going to be making are going to be kind of predicated on the entire product. So, but the main one, if you're just looking at kind of overall account health, the detail page sales and traffic report, that one gets you up pretty quick.
Yeah, and I think, this is just one of those metrics, like we look at it weekly. on the average. I mean, it's if you look at it daily, you probably go a little bit nutty, to be honest with you. And
Yeah.
it's I mean, if you're in a danger zone and something's going wrong, I don't mind being on that daily, but on a weekly, you just kind of want to see this going up and up and up. You may have a
Yeah.
weak setback, and we can usually figure out why that is. And it could be a traffic thing. It could be, all of a sudden we're just pushing a bunch of paid traffic in there and something. And you can even just see how these kind of these vary sort of back and forth. We have some 12s, we have some 9s, we have some 8s, we have some 6s, but on average over the past length of time, 9.77. And we're looking, hey, can we improve that? Can we improve that? What this is speaking to right here is how well you're converting browsers into buyers on Amazon. So, and the other thing, I think, Jacob, you probably have more insight onto this. This is category dependent.
It is,
right? Because
very much so.
there are some categories where you're like, go ahead and you can go ahead and cover that one. So if you talk about different categories a little bit.
Me and Sean, we've been doing this for a very long time. So we know just generally where some kind of good metrics are for both unit session percent and some of the other things we're going to be going over today. But just throughout the years with all the different sellers and all the unique spaces that we worked in, it really has become incredibly apparent how much this number can change just radically. So overall for 10, just general, like if I'm just looking at an account, I don't know much about the products or anything. I would usually like to see our conversion rate start to tickle that double digits. If it's kind of good mid double digits, we know we're doing something right there. But that it can change so wildly, and it really depends on a lot of the products and even some of the marketplaces that you're selling in too. So, for instance, we've done a lot of work in the cosmetic space, so beauty, skincare, things like that. And like I said, we're seeing kind of tickling that double digits for conversion rate. I know we're in the right space, but if I'm launching into kind of a beauty or cosmetic space, it is such a competitive market that if you're able to convert on like 4%, I'm usually pretty happy over there just because it really changes by space. And some things like the European markets, we've done some work specifically in like Italy. Their conversion rates are really low over there. I don't know if it's something about the culture. I don't know exactly why, but it is interesting to note. No offense to any Italians out there. But then also one of the other ones, we've done a lot of work in over-the-counter medications. And over-the-counter medications, again, I'm not sure why this is, but it is astounding some of the conversion rates you can see over there. And I mean like 30-40% conversion rates, which is, if you've been doing any work on Amazon, that's an absolute nuts number. That no one gets 30-40% conversion rates. So if I was a seller, I launched into over-the-counter medication. That's the only world I know, and I'm just used to 30-40% medication. I'm like, oh, I want to branch out my business. I'm going to go do some skincare because like there's maybe some overlap there. And then you launch, you're going to drive yourself mad, wondering why you're not getting a 30-40% conversion rate on your kind of skincare product, when in reality, no one's getting 30-40% on skincare. No one's getting anywhere close to that. So it is very category dependent. There used to be this awesome tool by Perpetua that lets you get a PPC kind of a benchmarker report. So it would give you your conversion rate, click-through rate, cost per click per category. They actually just closed that a couple days ago. So if anyone in the audience is a coder and wants to write us a tool, hit us up. We'll make that
happen. Yeah, we'll be eternally grateful for that.
Yeah.
Or if or someone escaped the Perpetua ecosystem and like wants to bring that with them.
If you're not on an NDA or anything, yeah.
Yeah, we won't shun you by any stretch of the imagination. Right. So, yeah, no, I think this is good. Now, here's the thing. Right now, I'm just giving you the tools to react to unit session percentage. What we want to really discuss and break down is, how can you actually lever and change the unit session percentage. So Jacob, I'm thinking if we just duplicate out slide number 8 there, and then maybe we can just make it all about the unit session percentage and kind of what we're going to do there, because I think some of the things that we're going to kind of cover is like, how do we actually manipulate this figure and the levers? Because I'll kind of go over what we've discussed so far. First of all, we discussed earlier that if you're just joining us right now, that we run an agency that has hired lots of PPC managers over the years, and I've pushed on PPC managers up until about 5 years ago. I kept bugging them. I'm like, hey, we need to grow sales, and we need PPC to grow sales. And one of my PPC managers came back and said, Sean, PPC is not magic. And it was a gut punch to realize that they're absolutely right. There's only so much you can do. And then I kind of went through and showed a very simple system using color coding on the search term report. You can do PPC in about 5 minutes. So I've got that in this right here in the 15-minute PPC domination toolkit. I'll take you through that and give that to you at the end if you want to stick around to the end for that. But it really takes you and shows you how you can do PPC management in 5 minutes. I literally showed it on the screen how to do this. But one of the things we came to realize just off of doing this PPC management is with the search term report is that PPC truly is not magic. It can be done rather quickly, and you'll be better than probably 95% of all Amazon sellers if you just do the system that it would take. I say give it 15 minutes, but you might be able to do it in 5 to 7 minutes in a day or in once a week and be good with that. But basically, one of the things that we learned from this is the PPC managers are really only good at one thing, and that's cutting costs. It takes a whole other skill set to be able to grow accounts using PPC, and it's via two levers. And the two levers that we kind of talked about so far are these two levers right here. One is getting premium pricing, which we can go over a little bit. And the other one is organic traffic. That's the one we're going to focus on today, because what premium pricing will do will cover the costs of PPC, because, PPC is pretty much going to be part of your game plan while being on Amazon. So in order to cover all these costs that you're seeing on the ads and all of that kind of stuff, we have to be able to charge enough of a price to be able to cover them. But the second one, and the one you actually have the lever to pull more than you think, this is a whole separate, time together on how to do this. And we can show you how to do that. But this is another lever. And the biggest one you can pull is to be able to go in and say, hey, we need to get more organic traffic. So it doesn't matter, because we were just talking about how on this account, we have this organic traffic right here. We can have this kind of ACoS because we have enough organic traffic in the tacos. The total ACoS or total sales, which includes organic traffic, the organic traffic so much, Amazon's sending so much organic traffic that our tacos is only, I think, 8% currently on this account right now, even though there are campaigns in here that are at 212%. But if you shut off those campaigns willy-nilly, indiscriminately, and pull those out, what's going to happen is Amazon's just going to stop sending you the organic traffic. So we really want to focus on what we can do to increase organic traffic. And then what we looked at was how to, first of all, figure out what's measuring your unit session percentage. The big mover for this is unit session percentage. We need to track that, because unit session percentage is a measure of how well you're doing at converting cold browsers into buyers on Amazon. This is your metric, and here's how you get to it. You go to reports, business reports, detail page, sales and traffic, and you just get that down there. So that's a really quick way to do that. Now let's kind of break into, now that we know that we need to focus on this, what can we actually do to change it? And that's what we're going to go to right now and really sort of cover that, because this is the big stuff. These are the levers that no PPC manager can pull by doing any of this stuff that we showed on the search term report. They can't make any of these changes that we're about to show. It's a whole separate focus. Maybe it's a separate skill set. I don't even know maybe that's true, Jacob, but
I think
at
it's
least
a
it's
separate
a
skill
separate
set.
Yeah.
That's just a
Okay.
bit
I
of an
think that's fair.
aside. I mean, through all the years we've dealt with different PPC managers, they all seem to have a certain personality type, and I don't think any of them are particularly geared towards creative. No offense to PPC managers, but it is interesting the people who are like attracted to the different roles within Amazon.
I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, it's kind of like a human body, and each part of the body has its own function, and theirs is really detail oriented. They're super fanatical about numbers and how the small changes that they're seeing can affect that. But again, the only thing that a PPC manager can do that we've ever seen over the years of hiring so many of them and working with so many great ones even is cut costs. They can cut costs. There's no way for them to grow counts. And when you push them to grow counts, you get responses back like I did, where they say, Sean, PPC is not magic. And they're right. That's what they will tell you. So this is where you really need to focus. If you're going to focus on that unit session percentage, again, we want to see this going up week over week. The big focus is the on listing creatives. Honestly, that's got to be your big one is, hey, how are we? And what are we doing once a person lands on our listing? Are we actually doing a good job of turning them from a browser into buyer? And honestly, all this stuff is where you focus, but I'm going to put in one big word right here is emotions. Emotions are what you got to be focusing on. Whenever we get them on a listing, the things that keep people on a listing and the things that convert browsers into buyers and the things that push up that unit session percentage that ultimately makes our tacos look better and gets us more organic traffic by far are emotions. We need to be poking at pains. I would say, Jacob, maybe honestly, I could probably say if I had to, if you put a gun to my head and said pick one emotion, whether it's pain or pleasure, I'll pick pain any day. I believe we've made more millions for our clients by poking at pains than we ever have by pointing them to the desires or the pleasures that they would
Yeah,
have.
I agree with that. And well, I will add a caveat to that too. I feel like especially whenever we say kind of terms like, oh, poking at pain, it tends to have a negative connotation of like, oh, I don't want to be like one of those like cheesy like late night
You
commercials
don't want to
where
be
it
a
shows
jerk.
like people go crazy. And like, yeah, I don't want to be a jerk, things like that. But I think there are creative ways to poke at pain in a way that really, I mean, most of the selling work that we do on here is a lot of it's psychology. So if you really understand the pain from kind of a deep, intimate perspective, then you can touch on it in a way that's not terribly flagrant or doesn't devalue kind of your brand positioning as well. So there's premium ways to poke at pain that I think a lot of
that's a
people
that's a
aren't.
really good
Yeah,
way to say it. There's premium ways to poke at pain. That's true because I think a lot of people will think like 50s infomercials and the bright red
exactly.
glowing,
Yeah,
pain over the heart for the heartburn or the throat or whatever. I mean, that stuff can work, quite honestly. And if I had a choice between that or nothing, I'd probably do that.
yeah,
But there are
that stuff
elegant ways
does
to say
work.
it. It does work, yeah. And there's a
Yeah,
reason it works, and the reason it keeps
yeah,
getting used year after year. But you can do it elegantly and fits within your brand and your
yeah,
style, and it can be elevated. It can feel upscale, all of that kind of stuff. And like some of the things can be like, we actually raised sales on one client's product by working on this kind of stuff, working on working on really poking the emotions on, and they gained $1.4 million in 6 months in top line sales. Yeah, under 6 months actually, by focusing on two things. We tied the fact that kids' toes were getting run over by these huge, heavy umbrella stands, and then we tied that to the choice that top restaurateurs and what are they called? The places, resort owners were choosing these because they protected little kids' toes.
yeah,
So the pain is in there, but also the proof of the resort owners and hoteliers and all that kind of stuff and restaurateurs buy these things because they protect little kids' toes. And if they buy them, then me, Mr. Homeowner, wants to protect my little kids' toes. They work for them. Why wouldn't I do that too? So you get social proof. You're elegant talking about upscale resort owners and hotel owners and all that kind
yeah.
of stuff, but you're also talking about pain of crushing little kids' toes. And that kind of stuff raised the top line sales $1.4 million in under 6 months. So Jacob's right. You can be elegant about it. You don't, and the elegant of is just showing. You can show the close up of what protects the toes. You can show the product being used in hotel and upscale hotels and resorts. It's simple, but I'm surprised by how many people don't do it. So maybe it's not so simple, Jacob. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think it's a different way of
maybe
looking at it. I think especially when you're coming from inside your business, you're thinking about if you're on product development, you spent how many years working up your specific features. You're excited about your features. You want to bring out your features. But I think where a lot of people stop short is they think about the features too much that they don't think about the emotional implications of those features. So features are cool, but
right.
you want to hook people to actually be able to read about the features, or no one's going to even know about your cool features you worked on. So
No, I agree. I agree 100%. Well, and again, if you're looking at PPC from this perspective, none of that comes into play. Like
yeah,
this isn't going to tell you, hey, I need to speak better and put more emotions into anything. This is going to be like, well, that keyword needs to get fixed. And again, if you look at this and don't look at things like tacos, looking at the tacos and really paying attention to that, you might think that this is really a really bad PPC campaign, when the reality is this is only 8% on total margins for the account, because we're actually able to drive such a huge amount of organic traffic because we're saying the right things early enough in the listing. Like we've got their attention out there on the main image. We've got their attention once they get onto the listing. We're saying the right things. So once they get there, we paid for the traffic to get them here. That's what this shows, is how we paid for that traffic to get them onto the listing. But then once we got them there, we actually converted them from a browser into a buyer. We actually made a customer out of them. And then when we do that, Amazon's like, hey, people love this product. Let's go ahead and show it out there for free.
Yeah.
Because Amazon gets the pick and pack fees, the referral fees and all that kind of stuff, and the PPC fees and all that stuff. So they promote products that this is one of the huge indicators. This unit session percentage lets Amazon know, the algorithm looks at this closely and says, this is a good product because people come back and buy. They've got positive reviews and all that kind of stuff. So really poking and pushing on these as your levers is the way to fix all of this stuff with your PPC. They all really tie together. Those are levers. I kind of want to talk about one more because really quick here. So if you're just kind of joining, I kind of confessed how I had, we're dealing with the Amazon PP death spiral and how to reverse it. We've already kind of covered one lever of it. Some of you have said that, hey, I don't even know if Amazon PPC is the problem. I do have this bottleneck decoder I just want to offer to you. It's a free resource. Under 2 minutes, it's going to tell you exactly where you're bottlenecking on Amazon, how to fix that. You just type the word fix into the chat and I'll make sure I send that over to you. You can just grab that as a resource. But one of the things is, because of the agency that we run, we've hired a number of PPC specialists over the years, some really great ones. And we have great ones always in there. And I kept pushing on them. We need to grow sales. We need to grow sales. We need to grow sales. And they would always push back on us, and like they didn't really know how to do that. And one of them finally said to me about 5 years ago, he said, PPC is not magic. Sean, PPC is not magic. And that's when, just looking at stuff like this, realizing, it's 100% true. This kind of stuff, looking at these kind of reports, there is no way, no mechanism in here to really push for growth. The only thing we can do is start doing cost control and budget control. So the next one I really want to push at is another lever. You've probably heard this before, that money follows attention. It's a common saying for business. Anyone that's done business for any length of time knows this is absolutely true, that money follows attention. You're not going to get money if people don't know you exist, first of all. But I want to say this, so everyone understands that as a base one. This is Sean's version of that saying. New money follows new attention. New money follows new attention. And what I mean by that is, if you're not finding new ways to go get attention on Amazon, you should not be expecting new money to come into your account. So if you're sitting here and going like, we're stuck at $1.2 million in our sales, and it's like, we're going to do the same things harder, it's not really going to work for you on Amazon. If you're saying, I've got $500 a month in sales, we're going to do the same things, but harder, you should not be expecting growth. If you want new money to flow into your account, no matter what size your account is, you've got to go get new attention. Now, there's a multiplicity of ways to be able to do that. But I'm going to basically really focus on one of them that I kind of just see happening right now on Amazon. It kind of is a missed opportunity, if you will, that I'm just not seeing people taking advantage of on Amazon. So what we're seeing right now is that currently on Amazon, there's a huge opportunity. There's a huge opportunity for us to just go and start getting new attention with video ads. So right now, out in the wilds, outside of Amazon, on TikTok and Insta, and even some on YouTube and Facebook, people understand video out there a lot. Hey, Jacob, would you mind cleaning up slide number 13? I didn't quite get around to that one. I want to make sure we get to it. But out there, people understand video. On Amazon, very few people are playing this game very well. But one of the things that we saw, if you can do this right, and I'm going to kind of explain to you how we did this, we've actually, just by changing one thing with video, we actually had a huge increase for a product that is a booty band. If you're familiar with booty band in the exercise space, and just changing one thing on the video, which I'll show you and explain to you kind of what that is. We got a 500% sales increase on the campaign and 20% lower cost. So we were able to boost sales by 500% and drop the cost of acquisition through that, just by changing one thing on video ads. But right now, no one on Amazon understands this. They don't really seem to be playing it. TikTok, you're on there, people understand how to sell on TikTok, and that's really going well. But on Amazon, there's kind of just very few people understand this or using this. So what we really want to do is we want to create new attention. And one of the best ways we can do that is by creating video that stops the scroll. It's that simple. So video, generally, if you're looking anywhere sort of out there on Amazon, let's just go out and we'll just do an Amazon search right now. Let's do for dog treats. All right, let's see what's going on in dog treats. Usually up here, you have an option up there. It is right there, right at the top. You see they're doing a video. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing about this video. I didn't plan this, so this is just happening live. One of the things I like about this video is that is like stupidly simple. That's not Hollywood. There's not even a camera for this video. They didn't set up anything. But what it does immediately is it's moving, so it grabs attention. So I can just see right now there's just some movement up here and it's grabbing attention. Now I want you to kind of notice here what's going on this page right now. This is a sponsored ad. I don't know if you can see this over here, but this is basically a sponsored. If I can jump in there. Maybe I can here. This is showing that this is sponsored. So this is a sponsored placement. And if we kind of go down here, this is a sponsored placement. This is a sponsored placement. This is sponsored. This is sponsored. This is sponsored. All of these are sponsored products. So we're row 1, 2 into Amazon right now. It's sponsored right now. Now we get into the first organic placements. These are the first ones that are not paid on Amazon to be here. Then we go to the next row. Guess what this is? Sponsored right here. Sponsored. We're back to some more sponsored placements. Then we come to the mid-roll. We've actually got video on here. So again, not a lot of people are doing this. As a matter of fact, I came on here yesterday and looked, and this was a static ad, so they didn't even have video up here. So this is just showing you a lot of people don't even understand how to do that. And that's really not the only place. So if we go on to here, let me just see if this one has it. I'm taking a risk in doing this live, Jacob. I could look like a complete idiot here in a second, but we'll see if it happens. So they've got their own product videos, which, yes, you should have that on your listing no matter what. But another thing you're going to notice right down here, this is not their product. This is similar brands on Amazon. And look what they're doing. They're placing videos right on this page. I want you to notice that's what's available right here. There's a space for your video on this page. Yeah. Look at that. So, and if you do better, here's the other thing. So Jacob knows a little bit about this more than I do, but they'll actually choose the video that does the best and automatic place it towards the top. So if you kill it over whatever this brand is, Greenies, you'll end up here in the first position.
Yeah.
And so that's really some of the stuff that we're seeing right now on Amazon that really makes a big difference for your ads, and where you can start to win on this game right here. New money means new attention. You've got to be getting new attention. So one of the things that I would say on this that is really sort of critical is to go out there and just create a video ad. And then what I would say is on this, I'm going to actually screw up this slide, is hooks. Hooks will win the day. What we did is we had one video that did pretty well. The reason that went to that 500% increase, I should have done a different slide for this. Shows how awesomely prepared I was, Jacob, right? The 500% bump was the hooks. Same video. We had this one video that we put out for them, and all we did was change the opening hook. It spoke about the position, how this thing could click on and click off. It literally was put the words up there, click on, click off. That got a 500% bump in sales for that ad campaign at 20% lower CPC. So you actually have your ads working for you in two ways. And the only thing we obsessed over was the hooks. What is actually being said in that first 1 to 2 seconds on the video.
Yeah.
And you can see here, these things are rotating. Oh, sorry, I got to go back out. These things are rotating out here. Let's see if there's one out here now. And that's not really hooky. That's not telling me anything. This is maybe curiosity at best. Any thoughts on that, on the hooks and stuff, Jacob?
Yeah, so I mean, a couple things kind of speaking to the hooks. As Sean said, this is something we definitely obsess over, and the main thing is kind of casting a large net with your hooks. Me and Sean, obviously, we've been doing this a long time, so we know just generally what tends to grab good attention. That we know we're to kind of start leading the discussion as far as hooks on. But what surprises us time and time again, is, as far as marketers, is what hooks end up actually working. So we'll have some that like, oh, these are my top three. I'm pretty sure they're going to do pretty well. We'll put them up, and then there's one that we'll put up. We're like, oh, just put it up, go try it. I'm not really like particularly sold by it. And then that one that we always thought was kind of just like, okay, turns out to be the one that kills it. So a big thing with that, especially as you're in like early phases, is letting the market really decide what is grabbing that attention. So testing things quickly. I think one thing that I like to kind of say, especially for video, I think in this kind of new space of internet marketing, where it's a little bit more socially acceptable to do some more like organic video production. So I mean, as Sean was saying, with some of these videos, those are just like pure like text video animation videos. You can hire someone on Fiverr to go do that for like $5-10, and then you'll get it back in a couple days.
Probably.
Go test that. Yeah, it's like that is such a low barrier to entry to get in there. And I think when people think of video production, they think of like, oh, Hollywood, especially if you're in a more premium brand. We have this one brand we're working with. They're pretty decent sized company. They're doing a couple 100,000 a month. And we were talking about getting videos up, and he's like, oh yeah, well, I gotta go like speak to this like agency. We're gonna get some lights, and then we're gonna shoot. And I'm like, I would prefer,
Yeah.
that is a project that will, if I like really push on it, might happen in like 2 or 3 months. I would prefer to get something up tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I told him, I was like, most iPhones that are made in the last like 10 years shoot 4K video footage. I was like, just get something relatively decently lit, and then let's start testing things better. And then the big part about testing is like, nothing is permanent. Very, 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 very few things are permanent on Amazon. So once you really get the meat and potatoes of those hooks, which ones really start getting those conversion rates, if you're really yearning to go hire a Hollywood director, you can go do that. But now you already have your hooks figured out, so you don't have to waste your budget kind of testing something that might not work in the first place. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this right now. This could be done on Canva. Everything that's on this page that I'm looking at right now, and this sucks. I'm going to be honest with you. This sucks. This isn't speaking to anything for anyone. Matter of fact, 3 calories per treat. If that's what they're worried about, then talk about fat dogs that can't get upstairs. You know what I'm saying? And if this is perfect for training, that's way too, like, it's just too much text. It's too much text, and it's not speaking to actual fears. It's not speaking to any of the desires for this kind of stuff. So this would be one of those things. It's like, test 10 more hooks on this thing and see which one. You'll be able to tell pretty quickly. And these are not small brands.
That ad, I was going to say, I will say for that ad, the one thing it is doing well is there's color. So anytime my biggest pet peeve, whenever any of our designers turn something in with like a white background, I'll like flip a table over, bring me back a new thing. Like, there's no white backgrounds whenever you're running things on Amazon, because as you look at that Amazon page there is so much white that you really want to do just anything to start getting that attention. So as Sean said, things can be done in Canva with like just adding colorful backgrounds and then making it fast paced that naturally get the attention. But then where you can beat your competitors is, like you said, what they're calling out there is not particularly interesting. And the one that like might be a little bit is where you're talking about the non-GMO or the 3 calories per treat, but they're not really hitting it. And so like, if you can get the color, you can get the attention, very cheap in Canva, go ahead and focus on your hooks. Again, hooks is really where this kind of comes down to there. So
yeah, and this is a branding piece. Like, I don't even know who cares about this? This is basically blue. Okay. Like, this isn't talking about anything. Like, I would be talking about, because you've only got seconds. Like, people are this is mostly, I'm on desktop right now, but over 60 to 70% of these buyers are going to be on mobile, and this goes fast. Like, this is like, scroll. So you've got to do pattern interrupt here. You got to think like high level pattern interruptive. I just got to stop you for a second. And so this will start going pretty quickly. So I would have whatever my biggest hook is, my biggest emotional thing. And these are too small, right now. They're probably a little bit too small for people to see. So it needs to take up the screen. It needs to be 3 to 5 words. Jacob will give it up to 7 if we need to, but for the most part, 3 to 5
Seven's
words.
pushing
I
it.
mean, it's
It's got to be a really good
7's
selling point
pushing
if
it.
I'm giving it 7 words.
If you're giving it 7 points, but it needs to hit. It needs to hit me between
Yeah.
the eyes like fast. So these guys are relying on the fact that they're a national brand. They've got brand equity. If you aren't well known on Amazon yet, you got to fight harder. Like this
Yeah.
is too sad fighting. So that's really what you've got to be able to do to get that attention,
Yeah.
and really move that.
Yeah.
And
It's a
that'll
sad
change
video, but
PPC
it should
from
be encouraging to you.
yeah, exactly. It's a bonus if you know how to
It's
do
easily
anything whatsoever.
beatable. Yeah.
Yeah, this one is yeah, you got a shot. If you got a dog brand, you got a shot against these guys. But that
Yeah.
immediately changes PPC from being this to being something you can actually pull the levers on. And so that's kind of what we want
Mhm.
to talk about. Like just so you have really two levers you can push here. One is, the on page. This is what, and we're looking at, hey, what can we do to raise that unit session percentage? And then the other one is what can we do for hooks? And the big one you're going to do for that one is the click-through rate. So your click-through rate, Seller Central, Campaign Manager, all campaigns, bottom row. This is your average down here, and you can look for your average, and you can look at individual ones and all that kind of stuff. But generally, you just want to be working your click-through rate higher, and that comes by obsessing over exactly what we talked about. Was right here was obsessing over those hooks,
Mhm.
right? Because if you aren't doing this, you basically these are your things. If your conversion rate and your CTR or whatever isn't beating your competitors, Amazon is sending them your traffic. That's how this works on Amazon. So you need to be beating them on these things right here, on the unit session percentage, on the click-through rate, and really moving them forward. So just a quick check for you. I would go through and audit your tacos weekly, track organic versus paid. How are you doing with your weekly? Looking at this, are we increasing? Is tacos getting lower? Is it getting better? Are we getting more organic traffic in? This is our biggest one. If we're going to obsess over one thing, we want to know if we're getting organic traffic in. Identify your unit session percentage benchmark. We want to prioritize creatives over bids. So again, the campaign manager, the PPC manager tell you PPC is not magic because this is what they've got. This is what they've got to deal with right here. This is the information that they're working with right now. For you, you've got to be doing something different and really focusing on creatives over bids. Like what can we do right now to increase click-through rate? What can we do right now to increase our unit session percentage? Create 2 to 3 video variants and drop them out there and test them live. That's what gave that when we were looking at what actually gave that 500% bump and the 20% lower PPC was obsessing over the hooks at the beginning of that video. The exact same video ran everything else. It was just the beginning was different. All right. And that's what will get you probably the biggest results. So you want to go check those rather quickly. Use the A/B or multivariate testing to validate the hooks of copy images. This is a really cool tool right now. Amazon's changing the game as far as what they're offering as far as tools right now. So take advantage of this. I remember cut costs when necessary, but growth only comes from conversion and attention. So like, again, all this stuff on the PPC report that I showed you, and I promised you, I'll give you this. So I'll go ahead and make that available here to you in just a second. I promised the payoff that I would actually give you the whole tool on how to do that if you stayed to the end. So I will make sure I give that to you. But you want to be able to move from focusing on this stuff to things you can actually, move levers on. Conversion and attention. Those are the two things. Am I getting attention out there in the wild? Is my conversion rate keeping attention once I actually have them onto the listing? So I've got about 5 minutes left. I just want to make sure I've taken care of everything here. Jacob, anything while I kind of put that resource over there, anything you kind of want to cover or that I maybe missed or should be covering a little bit of, or any final thoughts?
No, I don't know if anything you missed. I think I'm just like say a couple words of encouragement to anyone who's looking at these. I think the big thing that we really want to hit home is there are practical next steps that can be taken action on relatively quickly. There's nothing really about the Amazon advertising dashboard that isn't too otherworldly or too foreign. It's just kind of actually deciding to take action on something. So using that decoder that Sean put in the chat for you to be like, okay, where are my pitfalls? How do I focus on that? Kind of with that intensity. And then when we're talking about Amazon ads, videos, creatives, I just really would encourage to think outside of the box and think in smaller chunks than like a massive Hollywood video shoot. How can you get a video up tomorrow. I think the best video you can make is the video one you can upload tomorrow, and then learn quickly. Like there's a saying, especially in like a lot of creatives work, that you're gonna suck in the beginning, and that's just a reality. So suck early and suck often, and then the good parts, they come later. They come with learning. They come with the market telling you, oh, this wasn't good. So okay, let's go find some new ones. So
Yeah.
start that process
Yeah.
sooner. You'll get to the fun stuff sooner
Rather than later. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I agree 100%. Yeah, and it is a learning process. I would also encourage you to like use this. Use this. I actually put the links over in there. Use this domination toolkit. Do this. It's really quick. If you're just kind of struggling PPC, this will get your PPC under control in minutes rather than months. So that's really a good move. And then after you kind of have that, again, you know, we talk about it in our agency because you know, I learned this 5 years ago from a actual PPC specialist that the PPC is not magic. The magic has to come from somewhere else. So in order to do that, you got to pull those other levers. So once you have your PPC under control, then it's really what you've got to do is all the stuff we kind of went down, the video variants and creating those different options. So one of the things that may be useful to you if you wanted to kind of do that too, if you're kind of more on the DIY side of thing, let me actually need to bring this up. I don't know why, but if it's something that's more interesting to you, we do have Pro Seller Elite where we've got like a whole classroom that goes over all of this kind of stuff. If this is something that's interesting to you, I will go ahead and go ahead and grab that for you and make that link available to you in the bottom here too. I think that it would be a good way to do it. It actually has training on all of this kind of stuff too. So that training and accountability, if that's something you could go to, it would actually explain it's me doing the training. So I don't know if that's a benefit or not, but it is what it is. And that might be a good way for you to kind of move forward as well too. If you're more on the DIY side of things and you're like, I just want to learn how to do PPC. I want to learn how to actually make these lever changes that we sort of talked about. That would be maybe a good move for you as well too. So I'm going to go ahead and put that over in the chat as well too, and I'll write it here. So Pro Seller Elite.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's a 7-day free trial, so it's very low commitment to get in there.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. I mean, honestly, you can come in this classroom and there's a lot of stuff we're adding to this pretty regularly. So you can come into this classroom and do all of this stuff and participate in some of our live. We actually have live Q&As where we answer questions live. You can do that for 7 days for free without spending a dime on any of this. So you can kind of jump in here rather quickly. We have a really active community that's involved, and we have calendar events. You can actually just go jump into one of the lives with us, which is you asking questions and inside a private group, and also getting help from the group. There's active sellers in there. One of the things I love about this group is that it is all active sellers that are in this group that are actually doing stuff, and they're taking action, and they're showing their results, they're showing their work, they're doing all that kind of stuff. So that might be a good way to kind of move forward for you as well too. So all right. I think that's basically it. Jacob, any final words, I guess, we want to cover or anything before we wrap this up?
I think we've hit a lot of the major things. I think, yeah, just speaking to kind of the simplicity of the whole system again, I'd say go out, kind of work your magic on some video editing, pull some of those levers that can actually be pulled instead of just going down with your bids. As Sean said up there, prioritize creatives over bids. Those are active levers that you can pull, and then you can kind of fact check your work with the tacos. So are things moving in the right direction? Is the organic going up? If not, then you know where to at least start. So
yeah, really it is. And really the focus should be minimally on this. Like if I was dividing my time, if I had 100%, I had 1 hour to give in a day, it'd be 5 minutes on this. Then the rest of the time would be working up new hooks, new creatives, all that kind of stuff. Literally that's how I divide my time. Cause this can only control costs. That's all the ad people can do is control costs, control bids, all that kind of stuff. They cannot grow. This is what will grow your account, focusing on all of this other kind of stuff, creatives over bids. So, all right, everyone. Thanks for spending time with us. We're blessed to be able to be here with you and spend a little bit of time. Grab those resources over in the chat, and we'll see you on the next live, which will be next week this time.